cameras picked this up, and I just got the death stare.
He's has it in for me. That's why he's been on my case.
I'm on your side. I'm on your side, Jennifer.
So, Greta, let me ask you: do you have an intuition, any sense of what direction she's going to go in tonight with her gown?
I think everybody's wondering that. I think that she will have to do it big and bold, considering her first dress designer Jason Wu put him on the map as a designer, and she really came out not at all shy to show her feminine side and to really say, I want to make a splash. So I think tonight whoever wins that lucky moment to be worn by Michelle Obama as far as designers go, it's going to be a total change in their company overnight.
I was going to get back to the president's style for a second,
yes.
because I remember we talked about it, the president's style, really only when he messes it up, right?
This is true.
I remember the mom jeans.
Mom jeans, right? Yes.
And that was like a flutter of conversation for a few days over these unfortunate denim pants. Wondering, I mean, why does I can't think of a president whose style has mattered all that much. I remember Bill Clinton getting mocked for the short shorts when he went jogging. It seems like presidents really only get this stuff when they're doing it wrong. I mean, why is that?
Well, I think that's really, the thing. We don't really look to them and think that they're actually having that expectation that they're going to step up ultra stylish or ultra on trend. That's really not what we look to them for. So, but when it is something that we sort of can, look and say, wow, they're just like us, which I think the Obamas, more than any other family, are the most accessible that we've ever had at the White House. So you see them in so many more situations than you would if you took a look back into history, not just jogging, but everywhere. Sometimes, she's in the garden on TV with Rachel Ray, or she's really, they've opened up their home and made us part of it, so we get to see a lot more of that, and that's why on occasion I think President Obama gets a little nod or a little giggle towards that.
Speaking of jogging, Joe Biden has been just getting his cardio in on this this stroll. He's been buzzing around like a bee. This guy really enjoys.
Well, he's already running.
Yeah, I guess he is running. Right. This may be a little pre-2016 shuffle here.
It is true that you could make the argument that this is really, why should we have this kind of obsession? But the truth is, if a first lady didn't pay attention to this stuff, if she dressed, just even, what my grandmother would call a schmata, if she walked around, in a house dress or something, it would be an outrage. It would be a national, never-ending story, particularly in the age of social media. So she has no choice in a way. She either pays attention to this or she gets ripped apart by snark day in and day out on Twitter feeds and on every place else and on cable news. So she's forced into this role in some sense. Whether she cares about this or not, she has to.
Indisputably true, but she could have picked a safer route. She ended up going pretty fashion forward.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I think the point is, since she knew she was in this role, go for it.
Yeah,
I think
like everything else she's done in her life. I mean, she's been a high achieving person all throughout.
I think there's a very distinct difference, though, and based on both things you said, of someone who plays it safe and doesn't make an impression. We have never talked as much about another person beside Jackie O, now Michelle Obama, ever in a memorable sense, because she steps out and makes a style statement. It's more than dressing in an appropriate suit. There's been plenty of first ladies who have done that, and if I asked you what they wore or asked you where it was that it happened that they wore a certain dress or a certain suit, you wouldn't remember because it's generic looking. So I think it absolutely does connect to a sense of having her own sense of power and her own sense of statement to make.
Have you ever seen her make a misstep?
I have not. What I've seen, though, is that to me, she is really showing what you see now with the hair being smooth and sleek, the dress being very streamlined and tailored, her jump from all accessible American brands to now to very designer premium brands and mixing it up, is that you're seeing a seasoned style statement being made. This is not her first term style. This is her second term style. Her hair, her look, everything really says much more polish, much more sleek, and sophistication. She's not new anymore.
You remember Hillary Clinton with the hair?
Yeah. Changing all the time.
I mean, every time she got a different haircut, it was like she was running from pillar to post. No, that's no good. You look you look like a college.
And
no,
Chelsea, what a tough time she had. Certain choices, dresses or skirts too short. I mean, take a look at Michelle's girls. This is not by accident. Their mom is making sure that she's teaching her girls that this matters.
And
how you present yourself matters.
What do you think of the girls' outfits today?
I thought they were impeccable. I mean, basically, appropriately covered, dressed up, because after all, it is quite an occasion. But, they all looked age appropriate. They're not wearing black. They're not wearing obscure looks that don't look right on young girls. So it works.
And Dan? Perfectly color coordinated.
I was, as I was walking in, I thought, Dan he gets an A+ today.
Thank you, I appreciate it. This is what happens when you get married to a woman with a sense of style. Somebody gives you a tie and says, wear this one. That's pretty much the long and short of the story.
I'm familiar.
All right, take the camera off of me. What we're looking at here now is the reviewing stand, the bulletproof behemoth of a reviewing stand with a presidential seal on the top of it. From which the first family will be watching the parade. Let me just ask you one last question, Greta, before we let you go. Washington, not known as a hotbed of sartorial innovation. Tonight we've got these balls. Are you expecting to see some cool fashions coming out of this, or are we looking at reptiles and loafers?
I think that everyone takes the lead of the Obamas, and yes, I do. I think this event has now become one to become dressed for. I come from Boston. I have a fashion boutique and a fashion and style business based out of Boston, so I know all about conservative places that are non-fashion backgrounds. But I will tell you that Washington has changed, and this event and this family have also helped to push that along.
Very cool. I come from Boston too, and before I married a very smart, style sense woman, I had an unfortunate penchant for plaid, so I understand what you're up against. Greta Monahan, what a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And thank you for the A+. I appreciate it. I'm going to go brag to my wife.
I'll be watching.
We appreciate it. And there again, we're back in Washington, right in front of the White House. We expect the first couple to emerge shortly and come watch this parade, which will be quite an event. They're running pretty far behind at this point, but it's a 2-hour-long parade. And here are some stats on this parade if you're just joining us. I think we have a what we call in the biz a full screen graphic where we can show you some of what is expected. There are 28,000 seats along the route, which is smaller than last year. Everything's kind of scaled down this year. As we've mentioned, the number of balls went from 10 down to there are only going to be a pair of them tonight. There are floats from every state is represented, we should say, in this parade, and there are 8 official inaugural floats. One of them will commemorate quite appropriately Martin Luther King Day. 59 groups taking part in the parade, marching bands, there's some mounted units, military units, 8,800 people, so this is no small affair, and 200 animals. I think the technically correct number is 203 animals, at least that's what I'm getting from my research, and 147 of those animals are horses. We don't know what species make up the rest of that list, which will be interesting to see as this parade starts to kick off in earnest. At this point, though, all the pool is showing us, the pool camera, which all of the networks share, is this shot right here. So unclear what the parade will consist of. There we go. These are members of the extended first family. The woman in the center there is President Obama's half-sister, Maya Soetoro-Ng. She lives in Hawaii and says that she keeps in touch with her maternal half-brother, mostly digitally. That's her husband, whose name is, I believe, Carson Ng, and he is a professor at the University of Hawaii. And they have 2 children, one of them adopted from China. Also, other members of the family will be there. These are folks who are in the reviewing stand who are going to be part of the audience for the parade as it passes by, but also extended members of the extended family from Michelle Obama's side will be part of this, including Marion Robinson, the 75-year-old first mother-in-law who moved into the White House, she said, on a sort of a 3-month trial basis, but ended up staying and really liking it in Washington, D.C. She's in fact one of the few members of the Obama family who actually gets out and socializes. Just so you know, the daughters here are Suhaila and Savita. Suhaila is 7, Savita is 4, and I got the husband's name wrong. It's actually Conrad Ng, and as I said, he's a professor at the University of Hawaii.
And behind the scenes, what's also happening is that the White House is getting, well, I guess not telegrams really anymore, but it's getting well wishes from around the world, including world leaders who are sending their best on this event. It'll be interesting to see where his first overseas destination is, and what the first foreign leader phone call will be after this event. We might get
I mean, that says a lot.
Might be getting a hint, especially the foreign destination. That's always a very important symbol.
Let's get it out to Los Angeles now, and Peter Bart, who's Variety Magazine Vice President and Editorial Director, former Editor-in-Chief, host of Movie Talk with Peter Bart on Encore. Peter, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
You bet.
You've seen more than a few inaugurals in your day. I wonder, how does this one stack up?
This is obviously a formidable event and admirably staged, but when you think back to the intersection between Hollywood and the Kennedy administration in '61, or even Reagan in '81, the Reagan inauguration was more like a fraternity meeting. I mean, the entertainment community revered him, and of course JFK was a superstar, so there was a kinship feeling, right?
But there is an enormous amount of support in Hollywood for this president, correct?
There's certainly a great respect, and there's an agreement on social issues. I think it's hard to generalize, but I think the entertainment community, to a degree, feels that Obama is a somewhat distanced figure. He is respected, but somewhat inaccessible. I mean, even I've been to White House functions where in the Bush White House there'd be a lot of hugging and handshaking, and President Obama is not into handshaking and hugging. So I think there's a distance that some of the bundlers and the major fundraisers and some of the superstars who felt close to Obama, they didn't turn up for this inauguration. I think there's a certain distance.
In terms of a television spectacle, though, in terms of politics, we have big events, big scheduled events like the inaugural address, like the State of the Union. There are, of course, there's always election night drama, or almost always election drama. Where does this rank, the inaugural, where does that rank in the list of the things that people consume politics as popular culture?
Oh, I think this is, for one thing, today was a superbly staged event. And I think that in terms of pop culture, this is great audience sport. You really feel a patriotic surge. You feel a fondness, a fealty for your country, but again, to contrast it to a generation ago, when Reagan staged his inauguration, it was really, as I say, stage managed by Frank Sinatra, and the Rat Pack was there, and everyone from Jimmy Stewart and Charlton Heston, and remember Johnny Carson sort of was the MC. I mean, the whole thing was more like show business than this was. I mean, today was a superbly staged patriotic event. The Reagan inauguration and the weekend felt a little more like a Hollywood event.
Interesting.
Do you think Hollywood sees President Obama at this point as a fellow celebrity or as a politician?
I think he's thought of